Okay, so I've been trying to do this video and have all my notes up and everything that so I can do like pinpoint what I wanted to talk about. But that just ain't me. I just can't do it. I have to kind of just fly by the seat of my pants and just kind of blabber on, and hopefully I get my point across. So let's try it this way, okay? Okay, so today, oh, by the way, hey, welcome to the Collection Connection. I'm Yolanda. Welcome back. So first of all, I just want to say that, hey, I come here to share my experience with many years of experience as a collection manager in the business-to-business collection world. I'm not a consumer collector. I don't work for or have a collection agency. I actually utilize collection agencies, but I don't actually. That's not my field. I'm business-to-business collection straight. Okay, so. And also, I'm not your tax attorney. I'm not your legal rep. I'm not your CPA. Okay, now that we got that done, today I want to talk about who is doing your collections. The reason I ask is because it's hard sometimes for a business or a new business owner to feel comfortable doing collections. Calling about their accounts receivables, even that nice courtesy call. And yes, there are lots of platforms out there that, like, QuickBooks, YayPay, like Intact. There are systems out there that definitely will do the automated dunning or send the automated emails or the automated, just actually like get the mail prep ready, and so all you have to do is put a stamp on it and send out a letter to your customer saying, hey, you owe us money, hey, you have a bill coming up due, or whatever it is. But I come in as a consultant or, as a collections manager because sometimes an email is just not enough. An automated email is not enough. And when it comes to getting your money, you want to make sure you get it all. Big or small, get it all, okay? So when it comes to, if you're the person that's actually doing the business owner that's actually doing everything, and you have to actually balance your time between sales and marketing and just whatever, making sure that your product is running, is your services or your product is correct, and you're providing a valuable service or product. Sometimes your focus is not always on the full accounting side. So yes, you might be able to say, okay, well, I can actually check my P&L and all this stuff in the income statements, and I can see where I'm at. But there's so many different facets of accounting and finance that I stay in my lane. What I do is business to business collections. That's where I stay. That's what I love to do. There's sometimes a lot of research that goes on with the collection side or accounts receivable. So if you're not comfortable actually escalating or getting into the deeper facets of the accounting and finance part, like collections, like what's going on with your receivables, you have to consider what are your options. So before you start considering what your options are, you also want to consider maybe what is your temperament? What is your temperament when it comes to your receivables, when it comes to money? Really, actually, that's the bigger question. What is your temperament when it comes to money? So sometimes people can be more passive. Sometimes they can be more aggressive, and sometimes they're just straightforward and they don't feel one way or another, and they're fine. But it's about the communication style that you have, especially when it comes to money. And sometimes that kind of relates back to what is your relationship with money. If you've had some financial issues that maybe you're internalizing, and therefore when you have to, maybe if a collection agency calls you, or if somebody calls you about a past due, you're projecting. And so also when you might be calling somebody about money that they owe you, you might project your feelings onto them. And you don't want to do that necessarily, because you want to maintain that relationship with your customer. So that's very important. If at all possible, you want to present a front, a true front of, this is my business. I'm protecting my business by making sure that I get all the money that's owed. But also you want to let them know that you're still a valued customer. You just need to pay me. Okay. So with that being said, the questions again are, what is your temperament when it comes to money? So are you passive? And if you are, say, maybe passive, that would fall under the realm of you just believe people just have the good heart and that they'll pay you when they can. Or you might be thinking that, I just don't want to deal with that right now. I don't want to deal with that headache. I don't want to deal with all that effort. I don't want to think about that. It's just something that you're just like, I'll get it when I get it. That's the passive attitude. And then you might have a more aggressive personality when it comes to money, or when somebody owes you money, really. Whereas you might, again, take it like in a personal manner, like you owe me money, and how you actually talk to the customer about that. Do you get angry when you when you have to talk to people about money? Do you get a little uncomfortable when you have to go see your tax person? Do you get anxiety, whether it's in an aggressive fashion or in a more passive fashion? Do you get anxiety about talking to people about money? So with that, you have to consider, I would say it's a good idea to consider this, so you'll know what is your course of action when it comes to actually contacting the customer. And part of that is also, you might definitely have a collection process down. I encourage anybody that has to handle receivables. Yes, you might have a system that automatically like sends out the letters, or you can see, prints out a report, or you can get a weekly report that says this is what your aging looks like. This is all your receivables that's outstanding right now. And you might have, I don't know, say you have I'm just going to say $100,000 in receivables. Say you have $100,000 in receivables, and maybe you have $20,000 that's like over 60 days past due. What do you do with that? And at that point, yes, well, hopefully way before that, but it's definitely at 60 days, you need to not just be depending on your system generated emails or letters to go out. You want to be able to know to pick up the phone and feel comfortable picking up the phone to call the customer to get an actual payment status, to find out what's going on. Now, with that said, when it comes to like how you're communicating, will that be you? Will you be the person that's contacting the customer directly, or will you have an office manager contacting the customer directly? Or I don't know, if maybe you just have somebody that handles just the receivables, like maybe they do the cash payment postings and things like that. But what if that is not your office manager's strong front? What if that's not something that you feel comfortable doing? How do you address that? How do you actually make sure that you're communicating? Get a plan of action. Make sure that the aging is not just being looked at. When you get that receivables report, make sure that it's not just something that's just being looked at, but it's something that actually somebody is calling on. And the question, again, I put before you now is, who is that person? Are you the person that has the temperament and the capacity to actually make those phone calls and what we call working the aging, okay? Working your receivables to get to payment status, and not just get payment status of, I sent the check. I mean, to actually get payment status, like, hey, can you tell me when the check was mailed? How much was it? How was it mailed? Or, did you send it via ACH? How did you send the payment to us? So you have to feel comfortable asking these questions, because trust me when I tell you, there are many times when I've called customers, or I've had my collectors, especially like my collectors, that have called the customer, and the customer has just said, yeah, I mailed the payment. And they're like, oh, okay, thank you. And that's what the collection note says, and I will be ready to tear my hair out. I'm like, that's not enough information. So again, who is your collector? Will you be able to ask your customers these pertinent questions? Will you know how to actually, when you call the customer, who to ask for? Because you don't want to necessarily just call and say, I need to talk to somebody about an invoice that's owed. That can get across. But there's certain people that you might want to ask for depending on how big or small the company is. So you need to know who to ask for to try to get the questions answered. And if you ask for accounts payable, you need to know how to actually go ahead and reach out to somebody else. Who do you ask for next if accounts payable isn't responding to you? So that's part of who is your collector. That's part of it, and making that decision when it comes to, again, your temperament. And if you or your office manager or whoever has the temperament, because not only may they not have the actual temperament because they feel uncomfortable or take it personally when they have to call somebody about a bill, but the other part of that is time constraints. You want to make sure that you're very realistic about the time constraints, because if you're putting too much pressure on yourself or on your office manager to do everything along with all their other duties, it's something is going to fail, and the last thing that you don't want to fail is money coming in. That is extremely important. So if you are owner of the company and you're out there, willing and dealing and negotiating and getting contract signed and just saying, oh man, this is great, and taking people out to lunch because you're trying to schmooze and all that, great, absolutely. If you don't have time, you need to two things: either make the time, or which as we know, time does not just automatically just pop up in the air. It doesn't work like that. But you either need to be more diligent with your scheduling, with your own personal schedule, or you need to consider having somebody, whether you're going to hire them full-time, if you're going to maybe delegate it out to somebody else on your team within the company, or if you're going to get a consultant to actually do your collections for you. That is your option, but you have to recognize your time constraints, not just for yourself, but also recognize the time constraints of your team members. So say that you have the office manager, wonderful office manager. She makes sure he or she makes sure that the expense, all the expenses, the payables are paid, that expense reports are done, that payroll is done. Yes, she makes sure that all that stuff is done. She makes sure that she orders office supplies. And I'm sorry if I'm saying he or she all the time, but that person, if they have to order office supplies, whatever it is that they have to do to take care of the office, that may not allow them all the time to really focus on the aging or the accounts receivables that's due to you. Okay, so I've seen this before where some companies literally, the CFO, whoever, just says, well, it just has to be done, so you just have to get it done. Okay, something's going to fail. Something is going to get put on the back burner. And if that person who's handling, maybe your office manager, is handling everything else in the office, knowing that that person's strong suit, or their strong suit, is not necessarily calling on past due receivables, to recognize that to not recognize that would be possibly a detriment to your company. It really can be a detriment to your company, because again, that person that's the office manager, who does a great job, that office manager is the main person for you, as your right hand person. But if they are not strong suited, or they have time constraints regarding looking at the receivables and actually doing a deep dive in there, it is very possible that they will just accept some answer from the customer saying, oh, let me look into that and call you back. Yeah, I thought I sent that check. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'll call the bank to see if it cleared. Whatever. Just there's an amount of research and investigation that has to be done to get the customer's attention, and there's also it's very important that there's follow-up. That there's follow-up when you have that aging, maybe that's the aging report or receivables report that comes out every week or two or whatever, that is not just being looked at at a bird's eye view and saying, oh, that's what it looks like. Okay, oh, I see that 25% of our receivables is over 60 days. Oh, okay. No, you have to have somebody in there to do something about it. So that is just two very important things that I wanted you really to consider when you're asking yourself, who is your collector? And if you don't have that process already in your business plan or your day-to-day, I'm trying to correct myself. If you don't already have some kind of process set up in your daily, weekly, monthly activities that actually does some serious hardcore deep dive, and it might just be 5 customers. It could just be 5 customers, and it could be 250 customers that you actually need to reach out to. For me, what I do is we actually have a collection process set up. I mean, it's an outline that says, because where I'm at right now, where I'm at right now, it's still a very manual process. It's still very manual. So so we don't have the wonderful system here that actually just says what is your strategy as far as your collection portfolio for this week or this month or whatever. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's important. Okay, my mind just went someplace else. There we go again. See, this is why I did need the script partially. But I think I'm doing actually pretty good without the heavy script, because I actually have just so much stuff going on in my head. So, okay, it's gone. It's going to come back. Okay. But just to go back to say, Again, it is very, very important for the success of your company that you have an outline of expectations about how you're going to work your collection and who's going to handle it, who's going to handle it for you if you're not going to be the one. And I think it's coming back to me. So again, whether it's 5 customers that might only take you like maybe an hour to call on, to do some research on, and it might be 250 customers where you really need to do a deep dive and have somebody committed. And again, you might just have somebody like through the contractor through I don't know, Upwork or something like that just does some work like maybe once a week or whatever. I don't know. But you want to make sure that it's somebody that has the time and has the know-all, the wherewithal on how to actually research and resolve your receivables. That is like one of my big things that I kind of this is my favorite word. My favorite catchphrase is I am a researcher and resolver. I don't just look at a report and say, oh, I am an actual researcher and resolver. And that's what you want for your team, for your company to be successful. So with that said, I think I have said too much, but not enough. I don't know. But I'll be back. So this is awesome, and I look forward to, and again, thank you for joining me on the Collection Connection, Harperwill Consulting. And if you have any questions, or if you have some insight, because you know what, I don't know every single practice for every single industry. Every industry is different. So if you have any questions, or if you have, some insight, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, I don't know, yeah, all those little bells and whistles, yeah. Do all that, and thank you so much for your time. Take care. Bye.